Welcome to our Lesson 1 closeout, where we can talk about everything that we've done in the week that we've just had. Okay, we started the week with telephone etiquette, and in the lesson we learned there are some very specific do's and don'ts. Firstly, on the telephone, always identify yourself at the beginning of all calls. When in the office, always answer a telephone by saying something like, "Hello, Foreign Languages Department, Teacher Keith speaking." From a cell phone, either simply say hello or say, "Hello, Keith here." Don't answer it by using words such as yay or yes. When placing a call, always state your name along with the name of the person you are calling. For example, "Hello, my name is Keith Smith from ITC Training Group. May I please speak with Ms. Zeb Turton, please?" We then went on to consider how to be sensitive with the tone of our voice. We don't want to sound overly anxious, aggressive, or pushy. It's important your tone conveys authority and confidence. Do not sit back in your chair when speaking on the telephone. Sitting casually leads to a casual call being relayed in your voice. Here's a tip. Sit up in your chair or stand during the conversation. When at home, use a personal tape recorder and privately record some of your own conversations. You will then hear how your sound comes across to others. We also went through how you need to plan exactly what you say and discuss before one places a call. Here's another tip. Jot down the items you want to discuss and questions you want answered before you call. Anticipate and expect you will be placed on a voicemail system and plan your messages beforehand so it can be as direct and specific as possible. Asking the person to respond to specific alternatives or questions. Don't say, "Hi, it's Sheridan, calling me back." You must, at the very least, state the subject about which you want the person to call you back about. Our lesson covered how we shouldn't allow interruptions to occur during your conversations. Don't carry on side conversations with other people around you. The person on the telephone always takes precedence over someone who happens to walk into your office or passes by while you're on the phone. My tip, if you must interrupt the conversation, say to the person, "Please excuse me for a moment, I'll be right back." And then when you return, say to them, "Thank you for holding." Also essential to a great telephone manner is the speed of your speaking, especially when leaving messages. Speak clearly and slowly. Do not use broken phrases, slang, or idioms when leaving messages. Always, always leave your return telephone number as part of your message, including any code. And slowly is the key word. Consider repeating your telephone number at the end of your message. My tip here, practice leaving your number by saying it aloud to yourself, as slow as you have heard an information operator say it. Remember also that it's a good idea to develop the habit of always turning off your cell phone ringer when entering a meeting, restaurant, theatre, training class, or other place where the purpose of your visit would be interrupted. Top tip here, if you're expecting an important call, inform the caller that you'll be in a meeting during certain times and state you will monitor your message indicator for when it illuminates. You will excuse yourself to leave the meeting and return the call. Lastly, about etiquette, always speak into the telephone receiver with an even and low tone of voice, especially when speaking on the cell phone out in public. Be sure to monitor how loud you may be. My tip here, practice moving the phone earpiece just slightly away from your ear and listen to yourself speaking. Discover from friends whether you are speaking too loudly or too quietly for the other person to hear you. Oh, one last thing. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by other activities while speaking on the telephone. Noises such as rustling paper, chewing and eating, working on a computer, or speaking to someone else can be most distracting or even annoying to a listener. The second part of Lesson 1 went on to taking messages. During the lesson, you should have learned what a good message should include. All messages should include the name of the caller, the name of the business, the phone number to return the call to, and a brief message stating the purpose of the call. You start by asking the person's name, their callback number, and the name of their business. Once you have all that information, remember that you ask for the specific message. When you think you have the message, then repeat all the information back to the caller to make sure it's correct. Double check the spelling of any names if necessary. We'll practice this in the exercises during the lessons and the forums. Putting someone through. We've covered how to transfer a call from the first point of contact, usually the receptionist, to the person that the caller really wants. Although putting you through is just a phrase we use, remember your words and actions will reflect greatly on the impression of the caller. Get the first part wrong and they may never come back. Every call is a possible sales lead, and I've learned from 35 years of experience, you never know which acorn is going to grow into the biggest tree. Now, when we take a message, when we leave a message, getting people to call you back is very difficult. It's a difficult skill to master in the business environment, no matter how you are feeling when you leave your message. Your words and how they are spoken are key to getting a return call. Sounding happy or sad must be appropriate for the news you're wanting to convey. Saying on a message that you have some good news for someone is more likely to get them to call you quickly, but sometimes you have bad news to pass on. In such cases, we might use the word important instead of good. But we must remember to speak such words in a grave and somber tone to reflect the gravity of the news that we bear. For sales and business calls, if you want to get more returns from your clients, then you have to do something different from everyone else out there. You have to stand out. You have to be likable and actively deserve a return call. The lesson went on to what to do when being told that someone is unavailable. This is a skill that is almost impossible to teach in the classroom, as the skill comes with experience. How to deal with it includes questions such as, is it possible to know what time he or she might be available? We need to be careful when we are told someone is not free, whether they are in a meeting, not in the office, or that they just don't want to speak to you is important to know in the business world. When leaving a message on the answering machine, we've looked at how to leave a good message on the answer phone. And that is critical if you want the person to call you back. The message mustn't be too long. It should include enough information to get the receiver's attention. I always hang up when I get through to the voicemail, think about what I want to say, and then call back. 50% of the time, when I call back, the person has returned and is now off the phone. So remember, before you pick up the phone, pause for a few seconds and do a mini rehearsal in your head if you're surrounded by people. Narrow down the purpose of the call in 1 or 2 sentences. Remember that more than 50% of calls go through to voicemail. So be prepared for what you'll say if the person you're calling doesn't pick up. You should be prepared to leave a concise voicemail message that states your purpose and doesn't waste anyone's time. Listening exercises. By now, you'll have done the listening exercises in the lesson document. I hope they were not too difficult, but that they should have shown you that listening for information that's coming at you very fast is very difficult to get down in a timely manner. We finished the lesson with a fun crossword. I hope you enjoyed the crossword, and if there are any bits you didn't get, well, don't worry. We'll be going through the vocabulary in the forum shortly. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. We will see you next week.